Hi folks! Oh, hang on. Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a bike rebuild going on. This is my Nicolai Geometron, which has some frame updates on it, hence the rebuild. So let's get stuck in and we'll talk you through it. Yeah boy! So I'm back in the ancient shed again. You all seem to like the venue for my bike builds, so I'll continue. Here we have an updated Nicolai Geometron frame. There are a few subtle updates happening here. We've got new cable guide system, which means I can keep my cables intact when fitting and removing the brakes because it's externally routed. I have the updated dropout system, which has the sliding dropouts here, like on the hardtail. If you haven't watched the hardtail build video, click up there or there. We've also got a slightly different lever arm here, which has an adjustable flip chip. There's also the flip chip here, so we've got much more adjustability. Obviously I'm going to return the Mork forks back onto the steed, which are still in prototype. Hopefully the full public version will be coming soon, so keep checking in on that for me. I've got all my other parts all set up here on the shelves. I've got some fresh grips to put on from Ergon, a fresh saddle that colour matches. Oh yeah, superb. We've got the Bike Yoke Revive dropper post in 185 along with the lever. We've got the gearbox to refit here, which is already attached up to the shifter with the cables, saving a little bit of time. Again, external cable routing is helping me out there, big time. Got the cranks to go back on, freshly recovered with the anti-slip marine tape, although I think this version that I've got isn't quite as robust as the last one, but it does provide a nice finish, so we'll see how long it lasts this time. We've got the same belt tensioner here, which is, well, it's a belt tensioner and also a bash guard, sits underneath the gearbox here. And we've got all the Hope parts down here. I've got my pedals, my brakes, the E4 brakes. We've got the top clamp crown for the Morks, headset here, handlebars at the back. And I've got my wheels to put back on, which haven't really changed. So there are Hope hubs, Hope rotors with 6th element carbon rims and VEE tyres, as you well know. Everything's been stripped and cleaned, ready to go back on. Some parts have been serviced, ready to be reassembled, nice and fresh. It's going to be like a new bike. I've also got some updated decals on here, which is a slightly different version that I had before. Got my name in here, got my motivation here, and without further ado, let's get building this thing. So the first thing to do, let's get the headset in. Headset's pretty straightforward. Got a big cup to go on the bottom, little cup to go on the top. Use the press to put them in, and we are all good. Got Fenwick's assembly grease here, good stuff. Funny colour, being white. Give that a little smear over the contact surface. Put that in there. And now for the top cup. Give it a little smear round. Okay, pop that in the top. Oakley dokley. Yeah. Give it a good squeeze. I use the excess grease to go inside. That'll do it just fine. Pop the bearings in. Nice green Hope bearing again. This one goes that way. And and that away. Very good. Little bit of grease on top. And now for the fun bit, putting the forks on. Actually, here we go. There they are there. So if we take them out, you'll see that inside this, the lower crown, there is a flip chip here, which is off centre to the middle of the crown, so you can move it 10mm that way or that way. I've got it in the shorter setting at the moment, so the steering offset is reduced. First of all, I've got to take the compression cap off because I need to fit the upper crown over that, and it's wider than the stanchion. Here is the upper crown, which you can see the flip chip a little bit more clearly is here. So you can see that the centre diameter of the tensioning bolt is actually offset within here. So you can undo this bolt, take the chip out, turn it around, put it back in, and either increase or reduce your steering offset. We also have the wonderful, beautiful Hope direct mount stem on there. Lube it up. Here we go. Bit of grease on there. Just to make sure that we keep all the Scottish mud and muck and weather out. Same on the bottom one. Give it a little spread around. Put a tiny bit in the threads down there as well to stop that corroding. I'm pretty sure it's an aluminium bolt and an aluminium chip, so it shouldn't corrode. The worst corrosion usually happens between two different metals. And the top one slips on with the crowns. This is my human impact engineering device. There we go, just enough to hold it together. I'll get the bolt for the top, which is just down here. 5mm on the top, tighten the headset up as you would normally. And along with it, the crowns obviously come down the stanchions here. And there we go, got some tension in it. No bar spins on these bad boys though. So there we have it. The Mork fork is fitted. I will keep the crown loose just now, not tighten up the bolts, because I'll need to take the top off to put the cables through here, which is handy because we'll be able to externally route everything and not undo the brake hose or the gear cables when we're swapping over. So theoretically I could swap between my 9-speed gearbox, which is a little bit lighter on the hardtail, with the 12-speed gearbox that goes on the Geometron, so we can pick and choose. Let's put the seat clamp on and stick the dropper in. Here we've got the red Hope seat clamp, of course, and it just slides on top. Bosh! The internal routing for the dropper post actually goes in the seat tube here, like it does on most bikes, but there's a lovely little rubber grommet to keep the crap out, which I'm going to fit before squeezing the cable through. There we go, that's it through. So here we are then. We've got the dropper cable attached to the bottom and to the lever, so you can see it actuate. Pretty handy. And I'm just going to pull the cable through and drop the seat post in. There we are. The bike yoke dropper is so smooth that even with this rickety stand, I can press the lever and compress it. So smooth. Ergon saddle. It's going to look so matchy-matchy with the red bit on. Makes me excited. That's the dropper in and the saddle on. Very good. Back down. Okay, next up, let's mount the gearbox. Let's move this stand up a little bit. Get some underbelly action. So here we have the gearbox, the Pinion gearbox. This is the 12-speed one, the P12. Can you see it? Yes, you can. which will bolt on down here with 6 bolts, clamp the cables to the outside of the frame, and then roll it up to the handlebars, and the shifter is still attached, so we should be able to just slide it on and instant setup. There we are. So I've put the 2 guiding bolts in at the back first. Now another little, where are we? Another little trick that I have found, or invented I suppose, is to put Moto foam in this cavity here to stop any debris building up in there, which I'd noticed before. So I've got a couple of little strips of 10mm Moto foam, and I'm going to put them in side by side here as we close the box, and that way it plugs the gaps and still allows it to, any residue or water to drain as well. So let's see, there we go. Oh, sorry. And now it's just got a nice little line of foam just sitting on the front there, and I'll put the rest of the bolts in. There is an order to tighten these up in, and there's a little shim that pushes into the frame as you tighten it up, so you need to do them in the right order. And there is a couple of indicators on the gearbox, and this is number 1 over here, and this is number 2, so I assume we tighten them up first to a reasonable tension, and then do the other ones. I can't remember exactly how you're supposed to do it. Please consult the user manual, and always use the correct torque settings, people. It is very important. Hang on a second and let me just set my torque adjuster right here. That's about 30. Alright, gearbox attached. The underbelly is good to go. Now we have the bash guard and belt tensioner, which has 2 bolts into these holes. What do you call them? Bolt holes? Orifices? And one in the bottom that goes in the frame down here for stability. So here we are putting on the belt tensioner, which is also doubling as the bash guard. Voila! We have the bash guard and the belt tensioner mounted. Now we have to put on the new belt, and we've got to fit it into the frame. So the easiest way to do that is to take out the link here, which has the flip chip in it, and slot it in behind there and then mount it. Split the link there, and I could just put the belt in behind, and we are ready to rock. Okay, now that we've got the belt in, we can fit the front cog, which has to go on along with the belt, because the tolerance is so close to the bash guard here, it actually helps to keep the belt mounted if there's any debris in between the belt and the cog. So let's get the front cog here. Another beautiful piece of Gates Carbondrive machinery. This is the 39 tooth, and you can see it has had a little bit of wear already, because this was what was already on it. I've run it for 3 or 4 months already. There's hardly any wear on it. And it's the spiderless version, so it's a single piece. So you've got to mount that on the belt and then slide the belt in there along with the cog. So we'll get the washer here and the nut, I suppose, that goes on there, and it's reverse thread, so we loosen it to tighten it. Now that we've got the front cog in place along with the belt, I now need the left hand crank to go on here so that I can hold the drive while tightening up anti-clockwise on the front cog. Slip that on there. The front sprocket. Where's my crank arm? There we go. So we can just turn the crank arm and it's tightening up the cog. Perfect. Now let's put the extension bar on this again and adjust the torque settings to about 40 Newton meters. There we go. And get a little bit of purchase on the frame with my chest and shoulder. So I can crank it up. Take another notch on the ratchet. Check out my trying hard face. There we go, that's about 40. Perfect, I heard it click. And now on with the other crank arm. Again, put some grease in the contact area. And make sure it's matching or opposite to the other side of the crank. 10mm nut on the side to tension, keep it straight, tighten that up, good crank, and then 4mm on the crank bolts and we're done. So let's fast forward. Always remember to tighten them up to the appropriate torque settings and tighten them bit by bit evenly. I don't know if you can see it, but it's getting pretty dark in here. I think it's time for some lights. There we go, much better. Now I can see again. Okay, here we have the rear brake, which is the left-hand lever in the UK. And I'm going to just unravel the cable and fit it on. Right, now that I've fitted the rear brake, I'm going to have to make some adjustments as well, because this frame's now all up to date at the rear end with a boost size rear end, which makes it wider, 148mm at the back. So I'm going to use the Hope adapters to make my hub wider. There they are. And the disc mount a little wider as well. So there's shims to go on each side. That means I need to take the rotor off again. But luckily, I've got the drill this time, yay! Nice and fast. Rapido! And I've got to take the disc off and put these shims in behind. Alright, let's tighten them back up. Much easier, much friendlier on the old knuckles and the hand skin as well. All we need to do now is pull off the end caps, on this side as well. Come on, pop. Pop on the newer, longer ones, so that it spraces it out a little bit more. There you go. Super. Oh, running smooth. You can tell those bearings have been running. Oh! And we'll slide the axle out. Put the belt on. And slide in the axle. Now I need to loosen off the belt tensioning adjuster for the sliding dropouts. So we'll crank that down to 6mm. Open them up. So hopefully you can see that when I tighten up the tensioner bolt for the for the sliding dropout here, you can see the tension on the belt increase, and that way I can increase the tension of the belt so that it is just clear of the frame under there. There we go. Just clear of the frame. Just got to make sure that they're even and still in correct tension. So now that the tension's even and the wheel is straight, just test that by making sure it's running through nice and straight on each side. We can then clamp down the sliding axle bolts. Refit the belt retainer at the back here. There we go. And we are making progress. Very nice. Now we can pedal it. Let's get the brake caliper adjusted. I'll get the front brake on dead quick, and then we'll move up to the cockpit again and get the handlebars on. The front axle and the front wheel, that means I can drop it onto the ground and do the handlebars and get ready for the cockpit. Here we go, a little close-up view of putting the cable guides on. On there. Tighten it up. There we go. How neat is that? So here we have the Hope handlebars, carbon handlebars going back on, and I'm going to slide on the shifter and again just making to preset that torque setting there. There we go. Time for some fresh rubber grips. These Ergon grips are a long one and a short one for the twist shift. Specifically designed. Ergon actually helped to design the shifter here as well. This is the new DS2 version of the shifter. And the grips match up perfectly, so that's ideal. And all we need to do is pop that on there. There we go. The end caps are lovely as well. 8mm for the pedals. Pretty straightforward really. You can also refit the compression adjuster. Totally forgot about that. There we go. Time to drop it off the stand. Let's put the saddle down first. And loosen this. Good to go. No noises. There we go. Very good. Well, there we go. The Nicolai Geometron fully rebuilt and ready for a shredding. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but the rain is pouring down just now, and I can't wait to get back out riding that thing and get it covered in mud. I just want to say a really big thank you to everybody that continues to support me in making this dream bike a reality. If you haven't seen the Nicolai Ergon Hardcore Hardtail video, click that link up there. Visit the Trail Coach website down here. Give us a wee thumbs up like if you enjoyed the video, leave some comments and some questions down below, and subscribe to my channel just right here. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheerio!